Geoffrey Goodman wrote of you on January the 24th, Margaret Thatcher with scarcely concealed relish dances on the grave of government's wages policy, which her own party has successfully helped to wreck. Would you accept that you basically wanted free collective bargaining, and so did the unions, and that it isn't working?
I want responsible collective bargaining, because I reckon that anyone who has a lot of power must use it responsibly, and if they don't, you've got to look at the nature of their power. That's why free collective bargaining is not a phrase which I personally use. I've said responsible collective bargaining, and I've then said if the people don't use power responsibly, you have a duty to the nation as a whole to look at the power they wield and see if they should still wield that power. Because unions don't just happen to have the power they have now. They've got it by years of one government after another giving it to them by law, deliberately putting them above the law. Now, if you have that amount of power, my goodness, you need a saint and a jolly conscientious one at that.
Well, there are those
to wield it.
Yeah, there are those, of course, who would say that the trade union leaders don't have the power. Perhaps they did have the power, but it is now devolved elsewhere.
It's gone to the militants, and in that case, you know, you ought never to have had a law which enabled a closed shop to be used against all the decent, average, honest, hard-working members of trade unions. I think the imposition of the closed shop has been responsible for quite a lot of our problems, quite a lot of the intimidation. You know, it's all very well for the Prime Minister to say he'd cross a picket line. His job wouldn't be at stake by crossing a picket line. And I just thought that one of the lorry drivers who said, it's all very well for you to say that, but who would look after me when I was sacked from my job? After all, it's this government who saw that a chap could be sacked from his job because he refused to join a union, or they didn't even give him compensation or appeal to a court of law. That's been a devastating blow. It's put this colossal power into the hands of the unions against their individual members, and they ought not to have it. And it's put it into the hands of the militants.
Well, you had to go at the closed shop, but I mean, quite a lot of closed shop agreements are carried out with the full cooperation and agreement of management, are they not?
Yes, indeed, Jimmy. But look, I say the same to management as I say to trade unions, as I say anywhere. I don't vary what I say according to who I'm talking to. You're not entitled to have management and a trade union for their personal convenience just ousting a person's fundamental rights. You're not. That's why you have governments, really to protect fundamental rights and liberties, so that two other people, just for their convenience, can't say, oh, we're going to set that aside.
So you would legislate against the closed shop?
Well, we are pledged to legislate against the closed shop. We're pledged already to give a person who loses his job very considerable compensation for the loss of it, and pledged to give him a right of appeal to a court of law. Because you must, I know you had someone on yesterday, but I believe passionately in a rule of law, and so must everyone who believes in society at all. You know, if you don't have a rule of law, Jimmy, you'll have a rule of lawlessness.
Well, let me ask you about that, because not only, I'll come to Arthur Scargill in a minute, but last week I talked to David Steele. It's true to say I had to press him to eventually get an answer, but he did say eventually that, yes, there could be a situation where you'd have to have mass arrests. Now, yesterday, Arthur Scargill said on this program, in effect, that he didn't care whatever laws were passed. If he agreed with them and he thought they were good for his union, that's fine, and if he didn't, well, that's it. And indeed, he said they will have to hire football stadia to lock everybody up in.
Yeah. Well, now, that means that he's going to try to organise mass picketing. Well, now, they did once at the Salt Lake Depot. They did outside Grunwick. But you know, outside Grunwick, they lost out. And I'll tell you why they lost out. Because the last weapon we have against this kind of action is public opinion. And public opinion wasn't going to have it. And also the police were very well organised, and they did a fantastic job. And it didn't matter what Arthur Scargill said. The rule of law prevailed.